Hey guys, welcome to Boone County Cryptids. In the shadows of America's forgotten places, something stirs. Join us on Boone County Cryptids as we track down the country's most chilling cryptid encounters, one eerie story at a time. From midnight howls to figures lurking just beyond the tree line, every episode pulls you deeper into the unknown. Hey, I'm Wyatt Estes, and this is
Richard Brucia.
And we are Boone County Cryptids. Richard and I, we investigate cryptids and stuff and research mainly on Table Rock Lake. What Boone County Cryptids is going to be about is basically we'd like for people to send in their encounter stories to the email that's flashing below the screen there. And we'd like to talk, and if you want, you can come on the show and tell your story, and we'll just put it on air. And if it helps somebody, even if it helps just one person, it could save a life getting this information out to the public. Richard, what do you?
This is a judge-free zone. Feel welcome to say anything you want. Talk about any cryptids you've had, any kind of encounters or anything. There's no judgment. There's nothing. We're all here to support each other.
That's right. Yeah. There's no encounter too big, too small. Class A, Class B, Class C. We don't care. We will probably keep it mainly to cryptids. We may dabble in the paranormal a little bit, but none of the bad stuff. But so Richard, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got involved in the cryptid arena?
Well, years ago, back in California, around Lake Tahoe, my dad actually had a sighting in 74, 76, somewhere around there, and that's what got me interested in it. And then living out here around Table Rock Lake, doing a lot of fishing, I've been experiencing a lot of stuff for the past 36 years, and I finally hooked up with Wyatt and got him out there with me, and that's basically how I got started out there.
All right, guys, we're not going to edit this video. You just heard the tornado sirens. They do them every Monday here in town. So sorry about that. Well, Richard, that's I know we've talked about it a lot. Did you guys happen to go back out and look for any evidence after that happened?
Yeah, it was what it was, my dad come across the big meadow, and he just happened to turn around, and there was a Bigfoot standing across the meadow that had come out of the woods, and it stopped and stood there and looked at him. Two little ones walked by in front of it, and once they got in the bushes out of sight, it turned around and walked away. Dad come back scared to death. He wouldn't say nothing, and Dad ain't scared of nothing. He wouldn't talk about it, but Uncle finally got him to the scrub. We all went out, and we did find footprints. We followed the footprints all the way to the creek, where it crossed the creek and started going up the hill to where it was real rocky and there was no more snow. So we lost the tracks. But it scared him so bad to where he would not go out without a gun, and he wasn't scared of nothing.
I can see where that would scare me too. Just from my experiences I've had, and I've not actually seen one, but I'll go.
I've had a lot of experiences on Table Rock, heard a lot of stuff, a lot of howls, whistles, wood knocks, have rocks thrown, and that's just something we'll be talking about, and we're hoping people will share their stories that they've had encounters like that with us.
That's right, yeah. Like I said, if you have an encounter story, or like I said, it's nothing too big, nothing too small, but we've got our email going across the banner on the bottom. Just email us at booncountycryptids@gmail.com, and we'll get back with you as soon as we can. So I'm going to explain a little bit about how I got interested in the cryptid field. When I was about 10 or 11 years old, I was riding the school bus. I lived about 10 or 12 miles out on the dirt road, and you can just kind of imagine what kind of stuff can live in a bunch of woods like that. I mean, anything, bobcats, cougars, bears, Bigfoot, dogman, the works. Anyway, I got home off the bus, and I can't remember if my grandpa got there a little bit after I did, or he was there when I got there. I think he must have got there after I did, probably, for this to work out the way it did. But when he got there, walked up and started talking a little bit, and he's like, "I've seen a Bigfoot walk across the road." And he said if the school bus would have been a little bit faster, because the school bus, it would go by my house and then come back out. And that's the reason I think he might have showed up after. Either way, this has been a long 20-something years ago. I can't remember the exact details of it, but he's like, yeah, I've seen a Bigfoot walk across the road. And I've had some personal stuff too, but, mainly me and Richard have been going out on the lake. Why don't you tell them a little bit about all the vocals and stuff we heard back in the end of March?
We were out one evening and we heard some stuff on one side of the lake. So we're watching and didn't have the motor, just had letting the current kind of move us around just real slow. And it was taking us back out of the cove, and we were looking up one side of the lake and heard something walking on the other side. So I turned the boat around with the trolling motor, and it was paralleling us. You can hear it walking and coming up to a big, long, wide power line. So like, this thing's going to cross this power line. Whatever it is, it's going to cross. So we kept trolling, and it stopped right at the edge. We can hear it, couldn't see it. So shut the trolling motor off and let it start drifting us back. And as we're drifting, you can hear that thing walking, paralleling us again, going back out as we were just slowly drifting out. A little while later, the only thing I could explain it is it sounded like a monkey in the zoo. And that right there really got us kind of spooked, but not, it was more excited. And we couldn't explain it. And as we were going playing it back, you could hear rocks knocking. We didn't hear it live, but when you played it back after the monkey sounds, you hear rocks knocking, and then the hooping and howling again. And then after that, right at the end, rocks were knocking together again. So that's just one of the very few experiences we've had together. And we've had plenty of them. Just about every time we go out, we've had something happen. We had rocks thrown at us and tree branches, knocks, eye shine.
Well, that same night that we went out, you remember, I was in my head when we were starting to drift back the other way from the power line. In my head, I was thinking, man, we need to see some eye shine or something. And I kid you not, 5 minutes later, or maybe less than that, I'm not 100% sure, but we start shining the lights up in the trees, and we see 3 different sets of eye shine. And all I've got is my phone, and I just got a new phone just recently, and I decided I was going to I'm going to try to record in the dark. So anyway, Richard's shining his headlamp up in the trees, and I'm able to get some of the eye shine on camera. We've got some videos we're going to upload. One is the eye shine video. I think it'll be like 1 minute and 17 seconds long. I'm not sure when I'm going to get these uploaded, but it'll be before too long. You can see the eye shine in the tree. And then I took that video and I put it through the editing thing on the phone, and I kind of brightened it up, and I did some stuff to. I don't remember all what I did to it because I'm not a photo editor, but what I was basically trying to do was brighten the picture and pull out anything that was in the darkness. And when I did that, and also to see movement, like I slowed it down like 0.25%. And when I did that, you can see some stuff. I'm just going to let you guys watch the video for yourself. But pay attention between 45 seconds and 1 minute. I think it's right at 1 minute, you're going to see a flash of light, and you're going to see something looks like it ducks its head down. You can see eye shine before it too. Feel free to zoom in and on the video and see what you think. But yeah, it definitely looks like something ducking its head behind a tree or something up there. Some people may say raccoons, and it may be raccoons, but when we would get closer to the bank of the lake, these things would move further away, and when we'd back off, they'd come down further. And once when they did that, we heard a big branch break, and
something stepped on a branch,
yeah.
A big branch, and broke it. And that's no coon, that's no deer. It was something heavy enough to break a big branch when it was walking back down.
And I wish I would have got that on camera too. I didn't pick it up, I don't think. But yeah, we've got that. We've collected evidence. We've got several footprints. We got a footprint at one of the boat ramps that we go to after we went on the expedition with D.A. Roberts when we got back. And then we've found footprints at one of our locations we investigate called Three Fields. Found a track in the grass. We showed that on Woodwalkers.
What was weird about that one is there's a trail that goes back to these fields, and we were walking it, and we walked past all the way to the back. When we was coming back through, it smelled just like a wet, stinky dog with a little bit of more of a must. And we couldn't figure out where it was coming from. It wasn't there when we went through, but after we come back through the second time, going back to the truck, that smell was there.
Well, remember when we walked through, I actually did smell what I thought was chicken crap, but that could have been something totally different. But that same spot we walked back by, and there was it definitely smelled like a wet dog.
And there was nothing else out there with us that we've seen, heard, or anything. Just that smell just popped up, and that's something that'll send chills up. You start thinking, well, what is standing behind the bushes watching us?
Why don't you tell them about what you heard after you walked to your deer stand in the dark? You heard it, and
same spot. Real dark in the morning, early morning. Had my headlamp, had my little IR camera, all by myself. Walk in and get up to my stand and see some deer come just bolting out of the woods across this big field. And they run down the hill. They went to the left. They come back up the hill. So the field for a long time blowing, then they turned around and started walking back up in the woods to where they came from, and then they bolted back out, and I heard tree knocks. What in the world? Well, a little while later, I heard tree knocks again. They're getting closer. Well, a little while later, I heard tree knocks again, and they were all in threes. Boom, 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 boom. And finally, it was close enough to where I was by myself. It's time to get out of here. I don't want to be a statistic that just somebody disappeared and they could never find them.
Yeah, I think you probably did the smart thing. I would probably left too. Our first encounter was actually wood knocks. I went to we have what we call deer camp and squirrel camp out at a place called Cade Mountain. This was deer season. It had been November 2021. I hunt below this area called the Fire Tower, and I drove up there to the Fire Tower, and these other guys drove up beside me. They were asking if I'd seen their buddy. I guess he'd left camp that morning and he hadn't come back. I'm like, no, I hadn't seen him. Now they never asked me to help look for him or anything like that. And I'm basically 100% sure nothing ever happened to that, because we were there that weekend and there weren't any game wardens out looking for anybody. So I'm assuming he came back to camp that night. Anyway, after that, I'll start walking down to my I guess you could call it a stand. I just sat beside a tree down there in the woods. I've killed a lot of deer down there, but I get to walking down there, and before I even make it to my stand, I hear what I can only describe as wood knocks, and they were just consistent. Boom, 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 and they weren't real crisp. They didn't sound like the two baseball bats being hit together. But this went on for about probably 10 or 15 minutes. And I yelled out into the woods asking if anybody was out there because, if it was that guy, maybe he's out there knocking on a tree or something. I've talked to other people, and, well, it is deer season. And most likely, if you're going to try to communicate with somebody out in the deer woods, if you're in trouble, the call for help is usually 3 shots in the air. And nothing answered me. It just kept knocking. So I walked to my tree. I probably should have walked out of the woods, but I went ahead and walked to my tree and sat down because I didn't know what it was. I've always believed in Bigfoot, but I didn't really ever expect anything like that to happen. So when it did, I was like, what the heck? I use different words than that, but we're trying to make this kid friendly. But anyway, I go set up my tree, and a while later, my buddy comes up kind of in the same direction I was hearing this stuff with, and he sits down beside me. I told him what had happened. He's like, "What do you think? It was woodpeckers?" And I'm like, "Well, I know what woodpeckers sound like, and this didn't sound like woodpeckers." And so, yeah, I tried telling the guys at camp about it after it happened, and they didn't really believe it. So everybody's believes what they want. So I think it was a Bigfoot, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't a woodpecker.
No.
I was out on Table Rock one September. It was 17 or 18. And a really well-known fishing guy who I won't say his brand boat or anything, but he was fishing across the lake from me, and I was back up in this cove and just heard this super, super loud howl. I mean, loud enough where you could feel it. He hollered across the lake, "Hey, what the blank was that?" I said, "I don't know." And this guy's fishing to make money. He has clients on the boat, so, that's his money right there. He says, "Well, I'm getting out of here." It had to have been something bad enough to scare him to leave that area, to leave his money. So I finally pulled out my phone and got recording. I got the very last second and a half, 2 seconds of this howl that had moved away from me. But people always say, "Well, why don't you have more video? Why don't you do this?" Well, when it's happening to you, you're in such a shock. You're not thinking, "Hey, let me get my phone out or let me get a camera out and start recording this." That's what it did to me. It just put me in a shock, and I froze. And then once I realized, talking to this guy, and he left, that, hey, why can't I record this? But I did get a little bit of recording. It's really hard to hear. I did send it to the DA, and he listened to it a little bit. But that's just one of the few encounters that we've had on Table Rock. Wyatt and I were out one night back up in this cove. I whistle very, very loud. I mean, I can whistle loud enough to hurt Wyatt's ears. And we heard this whistle up on this hillside that was so much longer and so much louder than what I could ever attempt of doing. And then we started hearing coyotes howling, and we heard a big loud howl after that. So we've had a lot of encounters out there on Table Rock Lake.
Yeah, we've had, and I know people are going to say, "Well, that's too much encounters for one set of people to have." I mean, that's what it sounds like, and I'm not bragging or anything like that, but it seems like, I would say probably 90% of the time we have something happen.
Yeah, yes. We went out, told Wyatt, I said, "I'm honestly, to this day, I still think there's a family living back in there in a cave somewhere, but I honestly believe that they know my boat. I got these lights on the side of my boat. When I turn them on, it shines. I mean, it lights everything up." We were sitting one night. I said, "Let's just sit here with everything off, no lights or nothing." Nothing. Didn't hear nothing. Turned the lights on. It wasn't 5 minutes later, we heard something walking. You hear branches breaking. You'll hear howls. One night we had a big rock thrown at us, and that was one time that Wyatt was ready to kill something. He was ready to shoot at something. But yeah, it's only after I turned them lights on in that boat. And I've been fishing for 30 plus years on that lake. So I believe that they know I'm not going to hurt them. I'm not trying to hurt them. I'm not after them. I act like I'm fishing. I throw my pole out like I'm fishing. Turn them lights on, stuff starts happening. Coincidence, maybe, but in my heart, I think they know my boat. They know I'm not going to hurt them.
I agree with that. Well, when we heard the monkey sounds and stuff that night, remember how quiet it was when we got there? And we had the lights off. And you said, well, let's see if we can get something happening. And he turned the lights on. He's got running lights on the side of the boat, and it pretty much illuminates both sides of the lake. And it wasn't 5 minutes later is when we started hearing the thing walk beside us. And it was walking bipedally, is what it sounded like to me. But yeah.
And we were back up in another cove, and the woods come alive. There was something coming down the hill, busting branches, snapping loud. You could hear it coming. Shine the light up. Can't see nothing. It's there. There's something there. Shine the light up. Nothing. I'm hollering at him to get the big flashlight. Turn the light on. He couldn't get it on. Finally turned it on. I've got a 15,000 lumina light that really, and it would not show anything, but there was something there. You can hear it crashing and banging and booming. And
that's after that happened, I had to sit down. I don't know if it was an adrenaline rush or adrenaline dump or whatever it was, but as soon as I sat down, there was something started walking up on the other side of the boat. I told Richard, man, there's something walking up on this side now. And Richard doesn't scare very easily. And this is the only night that he's ever said, we need to turn around and go. And that's what we did. So,
yeah, we're back in these coves where I can't start my big motor up. There's so much debris in the water, under the water, that I can't run my real motor because it'll hit a stump or something. So I kicked that trolling motor on high and used it until we got out. But you can hear it walking on both sides of us. We've had howls on both sides of us. Like Wyatt said, we found a footprint one night at a boat ramp. It wasn't there when we put in. It was there when we took out.
Yeah, I'll upload that to the channel later. Well, I'm going to talk about the dogman encounter that I believe that we had. This was after the expedition to Combs Ferry with DA and all the guys. So we go back up into our normal cove, and we didn't hear a whole lot. I think we heard a couple of owls, but they didn't have the trill on the end. And I've heard Coombo Baker say that if they don't have to trill at the end, most likely it's not an owl. Anyway, that's all we really had happen in that cove. So we back out, go back out of this cove and go up and take a left. We go to another cove. And we've dubbed these coves Creature Cove because we've had so much stuff happen. But the cove we went in was the cove that we actually found a structure in at another time. And we get in this cove and start looking off to our left and start shining our lights up there. And we see 4 or 5 sets of eye shine. What I ended up watching a show on Mysteries Unknown about Harley Owens. Whenever he had his dogman encounter, he turned around and it was just laying flat on the ground. After this happened, I kind of put 2 and 2 together. They could have been laying on the ground. But Richard said, my light had died, but he was seeing one set of eye shine. It kept peeking in behind the tree, didn't it?
Yeah, you'd see it come, look around the tree, go back, and then it'd be on the other side of the tree, look for a minute, and every time the lights would hit it, it would move like it was trying to hide and then come back out on the other side of the tree. And I'd turn my lights, and when I turned my head to a certain way, I could see the one that he was looking at. And then I'd go back to where the one I saw, and it would stand there looking, and then duck behind the tree.
And finally, whenever he hit it, the light, I was looking at the one he was looking at. Finally, he hit it with the light the right way, and I caught the silhouette of something that looked like it had a snout like a dog. And I looked in the eyes of this thing, which wasn't a good idea. But anyway, I sensed a very evil presence when I did that, and that's from the research and videos and stuff that I've watched. That's a key aspect of a dogman encounter is having a sense of dread or sense of evil around. And when I looked in those eyes, and I stand by this 100%, it was something evil. It may have not been a dogman, but I'm about 90% sure it was. So yeah, that was our dogman encounter.
Yeah, we have people. We'll talk about this work, and we have people that make fun of us, which every person that is into cryptids have somebody make fun of them. Well, we'll tell them, come out with this. Come on, I'll take you out. We'll get in the boat and we'll go. Well, they always have an excuse not to go.
Yeah, we haven't had any takers yet.
We'll go walk this power line that we hear the stuff on. Oh, no, they don't want to go. They have some excuse why they can't go at that time. Anytime. I say, anytime you want to go, you name the day, we'll go. But yeah, they'll make fun of it, but they won't want to get out there and see for themselves.
Oh, well, we won't mention the guy's name, but remember the guy that asked me if I was whistling at 1:30 in the morning on the bank of the lake?
Yeah, I mean, this guy was out fishing in one of these coves and heard something walking up on top of this hill. You can hear it walking 2 feet, and it whistled back. Now I whistled again. Whatever whistle I did, it did, and it was paralleling us. Well, I moved across the lake, and you can still hear it. So we finally fired up and left and was telling Wyatt about it. And this guy asked Wyatt, was that you in the woods that last night whistling? Wyatt's not going to be in the middle of the woods at 2 o'clock in the morning, walk top of this hill whistling.
No, especially when I know what's out there.
But I've had that same person out there a few times. We've heard stuff that it's a coon or it's a deer or it's this or it's that, but they won't believe it.
Then you get hit in the shin with a rock.
Yeah, me and my son were fishing, and I told him, I said, "Dang it, son!" I said, "Your weight hit me in my leg." He said, "What are you talking about, Dad?" I said, "Your weight hit me." I said, "No, my weight's right here." Well, I turned the light on, had a little bit of blood on my leg, and there was a big rock in the bottom of the boat. So I started shining my light up there in the woods, and never did see anything, never did hear anything. Well, we left that little area and went fishing somewhere else. But we've had Wyatt and I've had so many encounters. It usually starts off with a coyote howl. If you hear a coyote howl, you're going to something usually following it. And me and my one son were fishing one night way back in this cove, way back, probably further than I should have been in my boat. And when these coyotes were down in the water crossing, something was walking down the hill, and these coyotes bolted. Whatever it was, stopped. Well, I don't know. This is kind of weird. Well, they just stayed there. A little while later, the coyotes come back down. You can hear them howling and whooping. And as soon as they got down almost to the water, something made a big splash in the water. And then coyotes did one yelp and they were gone. Took off. You could hear them running until you couldn't hear them no more. And whatever jumped in water, you could hear it going up the hill, walking. You could hear it. I told my son, "Let's get out of here." And he's like, "No, Dad, let's turn the lights on. Our batteries are dead. For some reason, the batteries went dead. Let's get out of here. Let's go see what it is." Said, "No, son, we got to get out of here." So we left. One evening, my son and his buddy were out in this cove that Wyatt and I go to a lot on this power line. He told me, he said, "Dad, we saw a bunch of deer. We got closer and we noticed it wasn't the deer." He said, "Well, shoot, that's a big old black bear." They sat there and watched it. It was in the moonlight, so they really couldn't see real good. He said, "But this thing got up on 2 feet, walked uphill across the power line into the woods." And I was like, "What was it, son?" "Oh, I don't know, Dad. It was just probably a bear. It was probably a bear." "What was it? What do you think it was?" I don't know. I don't know. I'll just say it was a bear." So, "Do you think it was Bigfoot?" "I don't know, Dad. I don't know." So but there was two of them, and they told the same story. It got up on 2 feet and walked up the hill, uphill across the power line until it disappeared.
You think we could ever get them to come on to talk about it?
No.
I don't think we could.
No.
It would be awesome if we could. That's a great encounter story. Even if they don't think that's what it was, I mean, who knows? But that's what it sounds like to us. I've got a buddy that I went to high school with, and their family has a cabin out there close to where we go to deer camp at. And he said one night, we thought about sneaking up on you guys in the camp, but we decided not to because we know how many pews are in the camp. But he said him and his cousins were riding 4-wheelers out there in the dark, and something threw a rock and hit the side of their 4-wheeler. And then later on, they were driving down the dirt road. I guess it would have had to been maybe it was in the headlights of their 4-wheeler or something. But he said he seen something that had to duck under a 9-foot tree branch to get underneath it. And I've talked to him, and he said he'll come on the show. He may end up being one of our co-hosts. I'd talk to him about it. But yeah, I've talked to people. I talked to all sorts of people where we work, and I've got a guy that says he's personally seen a Bigfoot and a dogman here in town. And I've actually got a track that my dad sent me. It's been 3 years ago now. But he found a track right outside a dumpster here in town where me and Richard both live. It's not 5 minutes from where I live. So apparently they're starting to come into cities and stuff too. But we're not a real big town, but if someone's looking for food, there's a creek. What is the creek that runs through town?
Dry Jordan. Crooked Creek.
Crooked Creek. Crooked Creek runs right behind down there where my father works. But yeah. So like we said, guys, there's no encounter too big or too small. If you feel like getting it off your chest, just give us an email and I'll be in contact with you, and or Richard will, and then we'll get you on the show and we can sit down and have a discussion about it.
Yeah, again, this is a place where it's a no judgment zone. I mean, feel free. Nobody's here to judge. Everybody wants to hear your encounters. That's the reason that they're on this show watching. They want to hear encounters. They have encounters, and they might be afraid to come out and say anything because of the ridicule. But on here, you're not going to get ridiculed. Don't matter what it was, what it is. If you have a story, feel free to come on. We'd love to hear it. We'd love to talk to you. This is just a short introduction of what we're about, what we're going to do, what we plan on doing in the future, how we plan on doing it, and hopefully we'll be able to get back out. And the water's been so high, so much rain that we can't even get out because all the debris and boat ramps are closed. And when we're able to get back out and make videos, we'll be uploading them, and hopefully people will be subscribing, telling us their encounters, and let us share them with you, and you can share them with us.
That's exactly right, guys. And this show's not about getting views or making millions of dollars or anything like that. But, we would, if we do a good enough job to earn your subscription, we would love that. We've got to get at least 50 subscribers, I think, to go live on YouTube. And we've got some people that we've already got a few people that have said they will come on the show. And we just want to, provide some entertainment, and maybe we can get some, I don't know how knowledgeable I am, but the guests we have will definitely have knowledge and stuff. And I mean, we do have some knowledge. We've been doing this for a while, but yeah, we would love if we earn it. We would love your subscription, and thank you ahead of time. And I'm going to mention a few channels that you guys probably all know and love. I'll start off with DAX Machina. That's hosted by D.A. Roberts and Robbie Raines. They go live on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 o'clock Central Time. Then Old Line Cryptids with Jerry Richardson and David Blaylock and Jeffrey Arrington. That's a really good show. They definitely deserve your subscription. Woodwalkers. That's another good channel. Really good people there.
Daniel.
Yeah, Daniel Hamilton's podcast, the Cryptid podcast. He's doing really well. Joshua Smith with Mysteries Unknown. They're doing a really good job. He's got a really great channel. Roger with Squatch and Holler. He's got a great channel. There's just so many to mention, guys. I watch all of them, or try to, and I'm subscribed to all of them with about 2 or 3 different YouTube channels. But yeah, guys, this is just, it's not really brief. It's 35 minutes long so far.
Yeah, again, just please subscribe. I mean, it don't cost nothing, just a minute of clicking, because we do eventually want to be able to go live. We're not high tech. We don't have high tech cameras and all this, but we do have IRs and infrareds, little bitty things. Plan on getting a dish, but we
got a little recorder, and we got a thermal this year.
Yeah, we do plan on hopefully be able to go live soon, and that way people can actually experience what we're experiencing live with this. And hey, maybe somebody will see something in the background that we've missed, and we'd love for the info right there on the spot. Hey, there's something back there, turn around, or hey, there's something over here.
DA they found what they think was maybe a dog man in one of DA's photos, and they didn't even know it till like a year later, till somebody seen it. And that's what it looked like to me. But yeah, guys, want to thank you guys again, and I guess we're going to jump off here. And thank you guys again.
I appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Bye, guys.